Good morning from Austin. Cassidy and I are here because he has a podcast and I am joining him for that. Sometimes it's nice just to have a second set of eyes to help set things up and set up the shot and do a little art direction on the set at the Airbnb currently. Drinking my cold brew coffee and getting ready for the day. There are 2 cardinal sins so far with this Airbnb. They did not provide coffee, no coffee pods, no Keurig K-cups, no black coffee, nothing. So I'm very lucky that I picked up black cold brew at the HEB yesterday. Also, if you're in Texas and you have an HEB, so jealous. I love the HEB. The prices, incredible. The selection, incredible. I feel like we bought a week's worth of groceries yesterday for $140, whereas in the Seattle area, minimum $200, minimum. So the other cardinal sin is no side tables next to the bed. No side tables, no chargers. So if you ever stay in an Airbnb, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to crawl underneath a dusty ass bed to find a charger behind the middle of the bed, and all of your shit is on the floor. Your glasses, your Kindle, your phone, whatever. Yeah, people should know better, but they don't. So I will be bringing you along with me today. We are helping Cassidy set up for the podcast interview. Then we are going to lift ATX, which is our favorite gym in Austin. It might be my favorite gym in the world. We've been to a lot of gyms. We've traveled a lot. And it's such a great gym. It's a little indoor-outdoor situation. The vibe is cool. The music is cool. The people are cool. It's just great. I love it. Bring you along for a workout. I think last vlog I was going to bring you along for my haircut and I didn't. And the reason for that is because I do not like my hair. I have a lot of hair, but I have a lot of fine hair. And I have a very specific way that I like it cut, so it doesn't fall in just like a blunt bob almost. And I feel like the way that she cut it is almost like a blunt bob. Also, a bunch of the chunks are not really tapered and layered, so I have areas where the hair is just almost like straight across. So there's like a couple of different shelves in my hair. I don't know if you can see those, but yeah, a little disappointing. I get my hair cut about once a year, and so I'm kind of like banking on the fact that it's going to be an amazing haircut and that it's going to grow out perfectly. So I did go back the very next day and had her put more layers in it and try to soften everything, and it still didn't turn out the way that I was hoping. But that is all right. Hair grows. And we'll find someone to soften things up, and I'll go to a different salon and find a different person to do that for me. Because at this point, I'm pretty sure that it's not just her, it's me for sure. I don't know how to properly communicate what I'm looking for, and she's not understanding what I'm looking for that reason. You can really see the chopped layers. And the other thing too is like, I don't ever part my hair on one specific side. I will do it like one side, the other side, I flip it back and forth, and this is a big problem. That is a big, fat, chunky problem. So I get to get that fixed after Austin. And maybe I will bring you along for that one, because we need redemption. We need redemption. These are all of my makeup essentials. I've got the NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Pen. Very important when you have barely any eyebrows and they're just light and feathery. I've got the Maybelline Fit Me concealer. I do this instead of like a full base, full foundation. I just kind of spot conceal because I'm lucky that I don't have too much that I need to cover besides rosacea and a couple of perpetual zits. And then I've got the Camo Liquid Bronzer Contour e.l.f., which is like in a gray instead of a tan. It's a new thing that I'm trying out. And then the L'Oreal Lumi Glass. So these are my essentials. A few more things about the hair. As soon as she was finished cutting my hair, after I went home and I looked at it, I was like, I feel like Lord Farquaad. It was so blunt and it made it almost like look like I had a triangle on my head. My husband walked into my office and said, "Oh, you got your hair cut." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't like it." And he's like, "It's not that good." I appreciate his honesty. Or that guy. And we're leaving in 5 minutes. I was hoping to make some oatmeal before we left, but I don't know if I'll have time. I can hear that it's pouring rain outside. Did I bring a jacket to Austin? No, I did not. I do have a sweatshirt with a hood though, so that's what we're gonna do. We are at the Phase 6 Dojo. You may have seen this spot before popping up in your For You page. And yeah, Jay and Jess own Phase 6 Dojo. They do incredible fitness content and host a bunch of things as well. And this is where Cassidy will be shooting his podcast today. And I just get the pleasure of being here and meeting some really cool people and being in this really cool space. I'm like, dang, I want to do a workout. I want to do some pull-ups or something. It's an incredible space. At least handstands. The least I should do is a few handstands. Putting together the interview table right now and also just getting the shot set up. We were originally thinking that we were going to do something over on the mats, but the mats are very soft and we don't want to put any holes in those precious mats. So we're rethinking the shot and going to be on the harder surface over here. That way we don't have to worry about anything. So setting up the shot right here. You still have the mats in the background, the lighting, the punching bags, and then we've got the flag as well. And when we're setting up a shot, really if you have a big space, it's really great because you can get a lot of depth of field and you have a lot more options. We've definitely shot in places where it was like an 8x10 room and you're so limited. Everything is just crunched right there together and you have pretty much zero options for shots. So to be in a huge space like this, you just have so many options and you can play with the lighting more and have more dimension in the shot instead of just feeling like everything is one-dimensional pressed up against the wall. Yeah, we've definitely had a few of those, but we can make anything work. But this is definitely the preferred method.
You upload the podcast and it cuts everything into Reels for you.
But for the cost of it, what it does a really good job of putting everything up. And are you happy with the lights? That color? Yeah.
Okay, the shot is pretty much set up. It's lit. We've got everything, all the cameras set up, and it looks really good. This was definitely the right decision to move off of the mat, get a little more depth. What do you think of the shot?
I think it looks incredible. I think Marshall really is hooking us up. His skills.
Marshall coming through.
5 or 6 days meals a day to keep your metabolism firing. All the things I hated, he was telling me I didn't have to do. And so I went, okay, I'll listen, because I'm frustrated, I'm still overweight, I'm not happy with where I'm at. And it was there that he explained through his content, just train really hard, really focused 3 times a week.
Good morning. It's a crisp 45 degrees in Austin, but I'm getting out for my morning walk, getting some steps in. I haven't been the best at getting my 10K or 15K every day, but some days are higher, some days are lower, so we're averaging about 11K a day. But I have noticed that if I get out, go for a walk early, God, it makes it so much better. There's nothing worse than realizing at about 7 o'clock at night that you're 3, 4, 5,000 steps short of your goal. When I'm at home in Washington, I've got a walking pad in my office, and it's so helpful for those days where I realize that my steps are low and I can go in and just get an extra 5K real quick before going to bed. But since I'm traveling Tucson and Austin, it's either outside or outside. Those are the options. But yeah, if you've never been to Austin before, there's a beautiful river trail and it's incredible for sunrise, for sunset. It's just gorgeous. One of my favorite things is there's always some pond turtles floating on a log and they look cute as hell. It's those little things that just make me so happy. Well, I wanted to do a little walk and yap and tell you about how I started my foray into interior design. I am an environmental scientist. I went to school for environmental science, and that's where I worked for the last, decade, 15 years, something like that. After graduating, I was in permitting, resource management, which I loved it. Such great skills to have, to be able to look up critical areas on a property, which comes in handy as I later in life am investing in real estate. But while working, my husband and I were both working our corporate careers. I was in environmental science, he was an engineer, and we realized that we weren't spending very much time together, and we were just like, what is all of this for? So we had the idea to quit our jobs and go out on the road in a van trip for a year. So we saved as much as we possibly could, knowing that we weren't going to be working, and set out on our year-long van trip. And it was like day one of our van trip that my husband said, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? And I said, I want to own property in cool places and be able to host family and friends. And shortly after that, the van broke down twice. Like, engine exploded. We were stranded multiple times. Very, very costly to replace engines, if you don't know, in a Japanese camper van. Also difficult to find parts when you're in remote areas of the country. Pretty much no mechanic that we ever stopped at wanted to work on our van. So that was a little rough. We had to beg people. But with that knowledge, the universe was like, okay, you said what you wanted to do. Let's go do it. Let's go do it now. And we invested in our first property in Cleveland, Ohio, of all places. Never been to Cleveland before. My husband had never been to Cleveland before, but remember, I didn't have a job at this time because I had quit my job to go live and travel in the van. And so I basically treated this like my new full-time job. So look at different markets that had a high nightly rate, but a low purchase price. And so out of all of the markets that I looked at, Cleveland, Ohio looked the most promising. So I flew out there for a weekend, toured about 20 homes, and decided on this one beautiful home in a historic neighborhood. It's like a 100-year-old house. It was recently remodeled with like all the guts had been remodeled. So it was such a great home. Purchase price of $274,000, which when you live in the Seattle area, you can't even buy a condo for that price. And so to have a full real home, no shared walls, a yard, a front yard, a backyard, a detached garage. It was like, when I got the keys after we purchased the home, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it was real. Because when you live in the Seattle area, a lot of times you just think that you're gonna be in a condo, you're gonna be in an apartment, you're gonna be in a duplex for pretty much like your whole life. So that was a wild dream come true, to have keys to a standalone home. I couldn't believe it. And the schedule that I had made for myself was to do all of the renovations and all of the furnishings within 3 weeks. I bought myself a ticket there, and I bought myself a return ticket home in 3 weeks. So no matter what, I was going to design, renovate, furnish this home in 3 weeks. There was no option. Remember, I was jobless at the time. And so every single day that the home was not on the market for Airbnb was a day that I was losing money. So I really set a tight deadline to just make it happen, which is really such a hack that if you give yourself no option other than to succeed, you will succeed. You just will. So over the course of 3 weeks, I was ordering furniture, I was stopping at every thrift shop, I was meeting strangers in Amish country to buy furniture off of Facebook Marketplace. I was crazy busy from 4 in the morning till midnight most nights, sleeping on the floor. And the interior design piece really came out of necessity. I didn't have money to hire anyone to do this for me. So it was me. It was all on me. And I accepted the challenge and the opportunity of why not me? I kind of know what I'm doing. I've always wanted to do something like this. Why not me? And the final result of the home was so beautiful, so improved. We crushed it on that home. I'll have to look up the numbers, but I want to say that we were making like 12 grand a month on that home. And when your purchase price is $274,000 and your mortgage is like less than 2 grand a month, to be making 12 grand a month was just mind-blowing. But my goal when I set out was I want to be the best home, the best option in the entire market. I want to be beating the hotels. I want to be beating all the other Airbnbs. And because I looked at all the competition and I was like, all I have to do is be better than everyone else. And I got it on luck. And that's what I set out to do through design, through guest experience. And so that is how I started with interior design. And one thing that I realized now looking back in retrospect was that the necessity of the timeline and the like frickin' shoestring budget was I had to get creative with the furnishings that I was finding for the space. And so I was layering in these really cool vintage pieces into the home. And I was layering in furniture that wasn't just like Amazon or Wayfair, because I needed it now. I needed it right now with my 3-week timeline. And what that did was it really baked in this beautiful character of the space. It had this lived in experience. It had this energy, this vibe that you just don't get when you're buying all new furniture. When you go to Wayfair or you go to IKEA and you furnish the entire home. And I know you know what I'm talking about. You've been to those Airbnbs where you walk in and you're like, oh yeah, I've seen that couch before. I've seen this entire showroom at IKEA before. And it's just, I don't know, it's underwhelming, and it gives you this sense of like, these people don't really care. And I realized that with the way that I had designed the space, with integrating vintage pieces and pieces with character, things that you would never see anywhere else in other Airbnbs, was that people were really looking for that. They were looking for this feeling, this sense of home. They were looking for the energy that provided, and not just this, I'm staying in an IKEA showroom. The energy of those two spaces is completely different. And so that was like an early lesson in what people are really looking for as far as the energy of a space. And so that's what I get to teach people. That's what I teach people when I go through my interior design program with them, is how can they create that in their space. Because when you have an end goal of what you want the space to feel like, it makes all the decision making that much easier, rather than like, this is the aesthetic that I want to go for. I do love that this little camera just tracks my face. Makes it so much more fun. And if you haven't noticed yet, Austin is like such a run city. Any time of year, no matter what, you go out onto the street or onto the river trail, there are people running. There are singles running and there are groups of people running. It is such a run city. It's cool. So if you want to be a runner, move to Austin. You'll have plenty of people to run with. Back from my little walk, and I ran out of chicken, cooked chicken. So I get to make a little meal prep chicken to last me the next couple of days. It's just really nice to have some protein, quick and available. You know exactly what's in it. You know that it doesn't have a bunch of like oil or fat or butter or a shit ton of sodium or anything like that. So it's pretty boring, but it is really, really nice to have it as an option to just like throw in your mouth really quick when you don't really know what your schedule is, when you're traveling all around. And true story, when I was like 21, 22, I used to meal prep chicken and put it in little plastic Ziploc bags in my purse. Part of this was because I was poor, but I would go out with my friends Friday, Saturday night, and instead of going home from the bar and getting expensive food or getting food at the bar, I would literally eat chicken from my purse. And even though I was drinking a bunch, it was like the days that I did that, I felt really good because I was still getting my protein. And you can get away with a lot of stuff when you're, 21, 22 years old. But yeah, I just remember that like, oh yeah, I used to always have chicken in my purse. If you ask anyone from that time of my life, they will tell you that I was the girl that brought chicken in her purse to all the bars. So anyway, little HEB chicken. It's actually kind of a lot of chicken. Maybe I should go for the bigger pan. There we go, for the bigger pan. I'm gonna put just the tiniest amount of olive oil in the pan to keep the chicken from sticking too much. but barely need any. Oh my God, it's really hard to open. Oh my God, gotta get the scissors out for this one. I mean, wouldn't you just want to have a piece of chicken like this in your purse? And the secret to not having a super smelly garbage sack is to put your chicken container in the plastic bag that it came with and then tie it in a really tight knot before you put it in the garbage. Pro tip, because you know how it is when you put a thing of chicken in your garbage sack and it smells like death within like 30 minutes. Okay, we've got the chicken going. Very, very simple. No seasoning, no salt. No, nothing. While the chicken is going, I wanted to talk to you about the upcoming races that I have. So in order, this is what I'm going to be training for. June is an Olympic triathlon, and I've done this same Olympic triathlon last year, and then I did the sprint version of it the year before. I really like it. It's a great course. It's near where I live. It's kind of one of those things that it's like it's easy to just sign up for it and commit to it and have something to train for. It is close to my house. It's like kind of the perfect time of year as well, where it's like I have something to train for. So that is in June. And then in September, I have a trail race in the Swiss Alps, and I'm doing a half marathon. Cassidy is doing the full marathon. And so that involves a lot of trail running, a lot of elevation. And there's one trail run in particular that I am, and to call it a run is not gonna be quite accurate because it's a steep profile. But there's this incredibly beautiful hike a couple hours outside of Seattle. It's in this town called Leavenworth. It's one of those cute Bavarian towns. And the mountains surrounding the town are incredible. And there's this series of hikes in those mountains outside of the Bavarian town of Leavenworth called the Enchantments. And it is so beautiful and it is so popular that it is only a lottery system. So in February, they release a lottery for putting your dates in and getting your ticket. So you pay $10 to put in for your desired dates. And then I think in April, maybe, they draw on the lottery and they send you an email and let you know if you've won. Out of all of the times that I put in for the lottery, I've never won it. Cassidy has won it once. And so that was our one time that we've done the Enchantments hike is, God, it was maybe like a decade ago. But you start in the town of Leavenworth and you hike maybe like 8 miles to this beautiful alpine lake. And then you ascend a pass called Asgard Pass, super steep. It's a boulder scramble to the top. And then once you're up at the top of Asgard Pass, the trail then meanders up and down and around throughout all the other interconnecting trails and these gorgeous alpine lakes. And so when we did it 10 years ago, Cassidy was, I think, dehydrated by the time he got to Asgard Pass, and he was completely delirious. And so once we got to the top, we were able to identify a camping spot to set up our tent. I set up the whole thing because he was just like out of his mind. And he went in and took like a 3-hour nap, which Cassidy doesn't ever take naps. So that's when I could tell that like he was really not feeling well. But incredible, so incredible. While we were up there, we would do little day hikes. We went to the top of this one little hill and glissaded down. That was my first time glissading in the snow, and it was so much fun. Saw a bunch of mountain goats, beautiful sunsets, beautiful sunrises, crystal clear water, absolutely gorgeous. And as a training hike for the Swiss Alps half marathon, we are going to do a through hike of all of the enchantments in one day. So that's the way that you can avoid the whole lottery system. If you don't get a lottery ticket, is you just do the whole thing in one day. And so the key things that you have to do are, number one, choose a day to do it where the days are longer. It's impossible to do it when the days are short because it will just take you. It'll take you a long time. I believe it's 18 miles start to finish. And it's a through hike. It's not a loop. So you also have to arrange transportation at either the starting or the end point to make sure that you have a way to get back to where you dropped off your car in the first place. So that is going to be probably mid-June when the days are long. And yeah, it'll be a perfect training hike. It'll be incredibly beautiful. I'm so looking forward to it. I've wanted to do the Enchantments Through hike for so long, but I've never, this sounds kind of shitty to say, but I've never quite felt like I've had a reason to do it, because it is hard, because it's so challenging. And it's kind of scary to think about it, because this isn't like the hikes in Europe where every few miles you have another hut to go to. When you're hiking on this trail, you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you're really putting yourself in a dangerous situation if you are not prepared, if you don't have the correct nutrition, if you're not completely prepared for any type of weather. And it's a lot of coordination and logistics to think about beyond the physical demands of how difficult this hike actually is. So I've never quite had a reason to do it. And so I'm really looking forward to doing it this year. So that's in 3 months. So I get to train to be able to do that hike, which involves a lot of distance and a lot of elevation training. So we get back to the Seattle area in early April, and I'll be putting a bunch of training hikes on my calendar. And I'm so excited to bring you along for those as well, because I've lived in the Pacific Northwest for 26 years, and there's so many hikes that I've done that I've loved and I've wanted to do again, but I haven't done them again. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to fill my calendar with a bunch of really beautiful training hikes and just getting outside, doing something that I love, and bringing you along. Because don't you want to see that scenery with me? Don't you want to be along with me on the hike through the beauty and the misery of it all? Yeah, you do. So I'm looking forward to that. Let's check this chicken. It's getting there. I don't quite think it's ready to flip. Maybe just like a couple more minutes. Coming to you from the future in my cozies. As I was editing the vlog, I realized it started to get a little long, so I figured I would just cut it off here and close it out with a video. Did you catch on that the shoot that I was setting up for was a podcast interview with Michael Smoke? Did you catch that? I know it was brief in there, but did you catch that? So cool. My husband, Cassidy, did an incredible interview with Michael Smoke. He's such a cool guy. He's got so much knowledge. He was so much fun to hang out with. We started the interview before we got going in the interview, just to like get the blood flowing and the energy flowing. We started with Qigong. It was amazing. And yeah, Cassidy's interview with him is incredible. The set looks incredible too. So if you're interested in checking it out, my husband's podcast is called For Your Own Good. It's this interview with Michael Smoke, and it looks really good. So watch it on YouTube or on Spotify, where you can watch the video. And the place that we recorded at is the Phase 6 Dojo in Austin. So if you're in the Austin area and if you're looking for a place to shoot content, whether it's fitness or podcasts or whatever, Jay and Steph from the Phase 6 Dojo were incredible. The nicest humans. I had a fangirl moment with them. My sister is a huge fan of them, and my sister was freaking out. So then naturally I started to freak out too when I realized who they were, because they put out a lot of really great content. So you've probably seen them around. The sweetest humans, the best experience shooting a podcast there. What a great spot. And yeah, so I will close it out here, and I will see you in the next vlog. We're going to pick right back up in Austin because we didn't get to finish it there. So, lifting heavy and eating barbecue, because that's what you do in Austin. All right. See you next time. Bye.